This conference will now be recorded.
All right. Who just joined us? You're on mute and we can't hear you. Okay. Oh, Linda Lewis Reese. Welcome. There we go.
I have a bag with cards in it. I clean in the trash can downstairs by my plant.
You're on mute. Can't hear you.
I'm gonna just walk away for.
Okay. All right. We'll see you in a bit, Jim. Good evening. Are you going to participate, or would you just like to observe? I can't hear you. You're on mute.
Are you talking to me?
I was. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm good.
I'm just observing.
Observing? Okay.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
there's not much to observe right now. Jim went off to take care of something. And is this your first sarcoidosis support group meeting?
I think it's the second or third.
Second or third? Okay. Well, welcome back.
Thank
If
you.
it was your first one, I would have asked you to put your email in the chat, and that way we can remind you and send you links to the future ones. So are you open to sharing what's going on with you in sarcoidosis?
Yeah, sure.
How long have you had it?
I was diagnosed in 2002.
Okay, about the same as I. And where do you have it? Has it just in your lungs, or has it moved around a bit?
Lungs and musculoskeletal.
Skeletal? In your joint?
Yes, yes.
Sorry to hear that. That's one of the places you really don't want it, but there's a lot of places you don't want it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So I officially got diagnosed in 2010, but they went back to a biopsy I had in 2003 and realized that was probably a miss. It wasn't cancerous, which was good, and they never followed up on it.
Yeah.
So either way, it wouldn't have made a difference. My formal diagnosis came when they did a biopsy on my finger.
Wow.
And they're like, what's going on? It turned out that it was suspected of sarcoidosis. So they went in and did a lung biopsy and bronchoscopy, and sure enough, we found the culprit.
Well, my dad was diagnosed with it in like 1967, I believe.
Okay.
I didn't, of course, I didn't know much about it at that time, so I'm really shocked that that's in his records as a diagnosis. And he was in UAB for about a year, and then he was in remission up until like 1993, I believe. And he passed away in 1995 from it. And I was surprised, because that it's, it's like, well, it's not hereditary or whatever. And then, of course, when he was diagnosed, the doctors kept asking us, has he ever lived in Africa? Like, no. Has he ever worked in coal mines? And we're like, no. And they just continued to ask us, like, We would know that.
Right.
You know, I mean, and so, yeah,
Well, where did you live?
they didn't know anything then, really.
Where did you grow up?
In Alabama,
Alabama?
the northwest part of Alabama.
Are you still there in the same
Yes.
place where you grew up?
Yes. And my dad has lived in this area all of his life. And, but I mean, they just kept pressing, like, are y'all sure? Like, yes, we're absolutely sure. We've never been to Africa.
Yeah,
We've never worked in a coal mine.
yeah. Well, they're learning a lot more about it, but they still can't definitively say this causes that.
Right.
So they know, for example, thousands of people that worked on the pile at 9/11 came down with sarcoidosis.
Right.
So that's a very clear chemical origin. It's a reaction to whatever the dust and toxins were in the air while they were trying to rescue people.
Well, my dad worked in a laundry factory.
So chemicals.
Yeah, and he had to blow down the lint and stuff from the ceilings of the plant. So we felt like that was probably his origin.
It can be environmental. It can be internal. So what caught my attention was there's a bacterium that grows on your skin called P. acnes. Actually gives you acne if you have a reaction to it. And a lot of people with sarcoidosis seem to be susceptible to if that gets internalized, either through a cut and an infection or breathing it in somehow. That can set off your sarcoidosis because they've actually found bits of that DNA in the granulomas.
Okay.
Not a smoking gun, but certainly something of interest.
Yeah.
So we spent a lot of time looking at what the possible root cause was. I lived overseas in Singapore and traveled all over Asia and to China. Worked in and around chemical plants for a large portion of my career, but we never had a smoking gun. But so I had about 10 years from diagnosis to 2020 where everything was fine. I had a little bit of shortness of breath, a little bit of impaired lung function, but other than that, I made my peace with it. Like, yeah, I got it, and I'm not taking any medicine for it. I'm 55, still no meds.
Yeah.
And then in January 2020, I was in a motor vehicle accident, and 3 days later was in the hospital with atrial fibrillation. And then over a course of 2 months to try and find out what was going on, it was the accident, what else? It turns out they did a PET scan, and it lit up like a Christmas tree. It was all over my heart.
Wow. Yeah.
And, about 2 weeks later, I had an ICD implanted, which is a pacemaker and defibrillator.
Yeah.
So my heart doesn't just stop and that's the end. So then I started, now they got to treat it, and went through a really rough course of medicines last year. And just last month tapered off of the prednisone. And now I'm just trying to figure out the next 20 years. Hopefully it's as good as the last 20 years.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Do you have any symptoms from it? Do you have shortness of breath? Do you have like achy joints, I'm assuming?
Yeah, yes. And shortness of breath. It's not, too bad. I mean, the lung function portion is pretty much in remission. I have a few brain rumors on the lower left lobe.
So your lung function's okay? That's good.
Yes, that's
really good. Because that's a long haul if you start.
Yeah. And
getting
I'm
lower blood oxygen levels.
yeah. Well, I'm a type 2 diabetic as well, and so my doctors didn't want to try me on prednisone, so I did the Plaquenil for a few
Okay.
years. And then when my numbers got a little bit better, I stopped. I'm supposed to be back on the Plaquenil, but I just kind of opted out of taking it, because I was
Personal
like,
opinion, I forced my doctors to put me on Plaquenil last year as a prophylactic against COVID.
yeah,
And it also happens to be good for pulmonary sarcoidosis.
Yeah.
So they don't know how that works, but they just know that it does. And depending on your source of news, that can either be effective in COVID or not. So
yeah.
so I've been on Plaquenil since March of last year, and I'm probably I'm considering tapering that. I'm trying to reduce my meds now.
Yeah, I did another year, or not quite a year, a few months last year, and then I take it off again because I felt like I wasn't really struggling a lot, and I prefer not to be on medications because I'm on medication for everything else. I have several different illnesses going on, and so I'm already taking enough pills, so
Yeah,
if I can eliminate one.
Yeah, I was fortunate. My pulmonologist put me in touch with a nutritionist, and she's a remarkable person. Her husband had sarcoidosis, and he passed from it at way too young an age. So she's one of, I don't know if you've heard of Foundation for Sarcoidosis Research. That's kind of our support organization nationally. They sponsor research, they sponsor legislation, they do a lot of work for sarcoidosis patients. She's one of the ambassadors there. So there's resources there that can help. And she was very successful in convincing me to change my diet completely. And I eat now like I eat really well. Doing mostly organic vegetables, some fruits, and very small bit of protein with every meal. And that has helped tremendously. I think that has more to do with my recovery than the medications. I think the medication saved my life, but this got me out of the funk.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah, so it's all about sarcoidosis is inflammation-driven disease, and sugar is very inflammatory. So things like soda and just sugar in your iced tea, or processed foods have a lot of sugars in them to make them taste good. So you want to eat more of it. Unfortunately, it's not going to be good for your diabetes either. So
I was just going to say, because of my diabetes, that's kind of part of my diet, is to stay away from the sugars and the starches.
Yep. Yeah. And then the other thing is not to do with food, but actually when you eat, was intermittent fasting.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
Have you tried doing that?
Yeah.
So were you doing like 16, 18 hours off on your fast?
Yeah. Yeah. You went from 12 to 16.
Yeah. I'm either 18 or 20, depending on the day.
Yeah. And sometimes, I can't do it as long as I like because of my blood sugars. So, my doctor's like, be careful with that. So, but I strongly feel that it helps.
It actually helps to alleviate inflammation, and that's really good for both your diabetes and your sarcoidosis. So I've been pretty religious about that.
What's the duration, Kevin? You were saying like 16 hours or something?
Like 16-8 is a typical one. So the total would be 24 hours. So you don't eat for 16 hours. And then you eat in an 8-hour window or 6-hour window or 4-hour window. So it's a way of like forcing your body to use up all the stuff that it has, like all of the sugars in your blood, and start processing some fats. But it also lets your body go into maintenance mode. So it can take out the trash, basically, which is good for a lot of your cells that are, inflamed or struggling to perform their duties.
Now, is that a daily routine, or
Every
you
day.
do that
Every day.
every day?
Except when I'm fasting. So I do fast for 24 and 48 hours occasionally, and that helps as well.
Do you have a regimen or a program for that, or you just say, hey, I think I'll take the next 24 and go dry? Or
So I haven't like formalized it into fast 1 day a week thing. I'm just kind of toying with it to see, can I do it? Like, I realized, I guess about 10 years ago, I was doing a keto diet, which is high protein, high fat, minimal carbs. And A, I lost a lot of weight. That was great. B, the inflammation in my finger where they found the sarcoidosis went away. I'm like, aha, what's going on there? And so I've always been kind of tending more towards keto or paleo in terms of diet. And then I found some really good tips on fasting. I got a book called Fast This Way, which is from the creator of Bulletproof Coffee. That's kind of his brand name. His name's Dave Asprey. He's a biohacker. And Bulletproof Coffee is coffee with ghee or butter and coconut oil. So it's really rich, has a lot of fats in it, but they're all good fats. So it doesn't break your fast, but it satisfies your hunger. It gives you energy for your brain to operate, because your brain operates on fat, not sugar. So yeah, it's kind of like a no pain fasting. So a cup of Bulletproof coffee in the morning, and I'm continuing my fast until 12 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Interesting.
Is that what you said it was? Bulletproof?
Bulletproof Coffee.
Okay.
He was Dave Asprey was a very sick adolescent. He had a lot of black mold in his basement when he was growing up, and it just blew up like a balloon. He was always inflamed and always sickly, and never understood why. And turns out like 10 years later, he figured out it was the black mold in the basement, because that was his bedroom to a new house. And he was on a pilgrimage to Mecca, actually to Nepal. He was going to go visit some monks, and he had this cup of tea at high altitude, and felt wonderful afterwards. And tried to figure out what it was about that tea, and it had yak butter and like full cream milk and a lot of things you wouldn't normally think to put in coffee, and it was very rich, and it gave him a lot of energy, even though he was fatigued from all his diseases and his the altitude. But he felt great afterwards, and he just started playing around with it and came out with Bulletproof Coffee, which is
interesting.
Yeah, and you're adding fat to the coffee, and it provides a lot of energy for your body, and it doesn't break your fast. It allows you to sustain your fast for another 3 or 4 hours to get more benefit out of it. Welcome, James.
You're on mute.
Yes, hello. Long time no see, Kevin.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Are you the moderator tonight?
I'm the moderator tonight.
Oh, good. Well, I don't have too much to say. I just wanted to drop in and see how things were going.
All right.
You've progressed to a moderator. That's great.
Yeah, it's starting to get back a little bit. I just got approved for a nonprofit too.
All right.
Oh, really?
Meals that Heal.
Meals that heal. Wow.
Yeah. So I'm taking a lot of what I've learned and
Oh, great.
putting it out on out in the universe using YouTube and Facebook. So I'm just doing healthy recipes.
Right.
And then the long-term goal is to partner up with some of these really incredible community gardens that are all around Philadelphia, and package up, whole organic veggies and deliver them to sarcoidosis patients in the Philadelphia area. Like a pre-made meal ready to go, stick it in the oven, and you'll start feeling better in a couple of weeks. Hopefully, we'll see how that goes. Got a long way to go before then, but
well, you got to start.
We got to start. We got the name. We got the branding right.
Yeah. Did you register that or?
Yeah. Literally got the news today.
Okay. You have all the legal stuff done as far as protecting your organization.
Yeah. So the next step is the publication. So we'll put it out there in a couple of newspapers for 2 weeks. I think that's the minimum required. And then we've got our board. We had our first board meeting, and
okay. Very good.
We'll go from there.
Congratulations. Good luck with that.
Start soliciting for donations and try and find those people that need it. Oh, we're going to start with sarcoidosis, but I really think that would help thousands of people in the area that have other chronic conditions. So yeah, just trying to get that off the ground and get it moving. I'm really excited about it. Tomorrow I'm going to be up at the community park. I've been volunteering there for the summer and getting some good networking and relationships. And we did, I think on Wednesday we harvested about 80 pounds of produce, and we give it to a local food bank that then distributes it to the poor. We've also done with Habitat for Humanity. So they build homes for people, and then every time they finish one, we go there with a big old box of beautiful produce. Welcome to the neighborhood.
Good.
What area are you in?
I'm outside of Philadelphia.
Okay.
I live in Montgomery County.
So Kevin, you survived the big Vine Street Parkway flood and all the other things?
I was down there about 4 weeks ago for an EEG, just prior to the flood. I rode my bike down there. Along the Schuylkill River Trail, but yeah, it was bad. I was out the last couple of weekends, and you go by the river fronts, and you just see piles of stuff out in the street just from the first floor. Down in like Norristown and Bridgeport and Conshohocken. It's devastating. We watched there had to be 100 pickup trucks just in a line going into the apartments by the river and just towing all the cars out of the parking lot.
Wow.
Because they were all underwater. So it was bad.
Wow.
Well, I have one more thing for you, Kevin, before I make my short visit here today. I love your Kanban board behind you, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
It brings back a lot of memories. I'm retired now, but we were doing a lot of agile development when I was working. So.
Yeah, this is my answer to brain fog.
Yeah.
So I was
Posted to light.
Yeah, I was showing up as very ADHD. Like I couldn't stay focused. I was forgetting everything. I would like get really manic about forgetting things because I was doing it all the time. And I watched this TED talk on ADHD and how I'm actually in my Obeya room, This is, my answer to it. Everything's visual. It's all out there. And anytime I don't know what I'm going to do, I just turn around and pick a note and move it over and put it in process. And,
Yeah.
when I'm done, I'm waiting for somebody, I move it over again. And,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's good to have a project management background.
Well, listen, it's good to see you all. I'll make a short visit today, but keep up the good work, Kevin.
Thanks, James. Best of
Okay.
luck to you. Hope things stay clear. And
Yeah, you have too much rain. We don't have any out here in California, so we're in the
yeah,
middle of the worst drought we've ever had. So
and the fires are just
and the
awful.
fires, yeah.
Yeah,
So
my
count
sister
your
lives
blessings.
my sister lives in San Francisco, and she said when they went back, first thing they smelled was the smoke when they got into the airport.
Yeah. Okay. Bye-bye.
All right, good luck, Jim.
Right.
Thanks for stopping
Bye,
by.
James. Okay.
Kevin,
Yes.
let me ask you about the inflammation in your finger you were talking about.
So I'm starting. I'm not a videographer. I'm fumbling all over trying to create interesting, appealing videos. But it's more about the content than whether I look good or not. So in the next few weeks, I'll be posting it, and I will send something out to everyone I know in sarcoidosis that, there's some interesting stuff up there, delicious recipes, and, they're all good for you. A lot of olive oil and sea salt and roasting. And I even got a sous vide cooker.
A who?
Sous vide.
Sous vide.
It's French for constant temperature.
Oh, okay.
So it's a stack about maybe 2 feet tall. It's a heater, and I have a tub, and you stick this in, and you say I want to cook it to 137 degrees for an hour and a half. That's a medium steak, and you put your steak in a bag, and you put it in the water, and you hit go, and it cooks it perfectly, except that it has no flavor. So then you got to finish it to get the browning reaction, so you get the caramelization and the color and the flavor. So you throw it on a barbecue for like a minute on each side, put the brown lines on it and get that flavor, and then the entire steak is medium all the way through. So it's not like well done on the outside and medium on the inside. It's the whole thing, and it's delicious and so tender. And like London broil's a really tough cut of meat to cook well, but happens to be very affordable. It's not a very desirable cut of meat, and it comes out delicious. Really soft and tender, and so it's a way of buying lesser cuts of meat, because grass-fed, pasture-raised beef isn't the cheapest. So if you find a farmer or a butcher that has access to it, you can get a lesser cut of meat, and it's still delicious. And you should only be eating 4 ounces of it at dinner anyway, so it goes a lot longer.
Interesting. Yeah. Good.
So I'll be sure to let everyone know as soon as I get my first videos up.
Great. Good. Look forward to it. Yeah.
You mentioned that you had some issues with your fingers that led to some tests.
Yes. So my right ring finger, I injured it in high school while I was working.
Okay.
So I crushed it under a marble tabletop. So my theory is there's scar tissue in there in the tendon sheath. And my sarcoidosis is in my interstitial tissue as well. So that's like the space between your muscles and your skin. It's just floating around in there. And your tendons are encased in a sheathing, which is all part of your interstitial tissue. So it would, if I ate a lot of carbs or had a bad reaction to something, my finger would get a lump in it, and it's painful. I could literally press on it and squeeze it out, and it would feel a little bit better, but then it went into my palm. I had this big patch in my palm. Well, it started interfering with my golf game, so something had to be done.
Of course.
I'm a guy. Like, I'm walking around with a swollen finger and just dealing with it instead of addressing it. So I finally went to address it and like, look, it could be a cyst, it could be this, it could be that. Either way, we got to go in and find out what it is. So he went in and he was telling me it was like pulling spaghetti out. Like these granulomas were just like all clumped and stuck together, and he's like, I've never seen anything like it. And he sent it off, and he came back and he says, it's sarcoidosis. Like, get out of here. It was in his heat. Try again. And I came back like, this is the best we could do, And so then I went and did a bronchoscopy and came back with a positive confirmation that I had it in my lungs. I had it for a long time, and was at stage 4, which means there's scarring, and so that'll always be with me. The inhaler and albuterol, nothing touches it, and it's about a 10 to 15% reduction in lung capacity, and I've had that for years, so it is what it is. When I got my heart, everyone got a lot more excited. And that was kind of the beginning of the journey 18 months ago.
Wow.
So that's where they found it. And
how long ago was that, Kev? What that they had the
2010. 2010 is when they
was the finger, and that was the actual first diagnosis was from the
no medication, right? It's in your lungs, and it'll probably go away. That's what they told me. Nothing to do about it. Come back in 2 years, we'll do another CT scan or MRI or whatever they want. And so I was on a 2-year rotation, and actually in 2018 it was better. It got a little bit better. Some of the inflammation had gone down, and I was like, great, this is great. And then things went sideways in a motor vehicle accident. It was just like that. So any kind of external stress, your body reacts to it as well. So that was the big learning for me was, stress from work, stress from relationships, stress from other illnesses, stress from, physical, it all can set it off.
Compounded.
Yep. Yeah. So I do a lot of meditation to handle like self-induced stresses. Try to be a lot more active now that I'm not fatigued all the time. So I go out riding my bike along the trail, and fortunately, but unfortunately, in November of last year, I fell walking out to my car, hit my head and lost consciousness and didn't realize it. And I had been drinking, but not much. And I got in my car, and it was a mistake. And I got in an accident, and I lost my license for a year. And probably the best thing that ever happened, because now I ride around all over the place to do shopping and go out to dinner, and it just helps keep me active. But yeah, we should definitely get together for a cup of coffee, Jim.
Sure, Kev. We'll look forward to that. Now, Linda, I walked away for a little bit, so are you're new to the group?
Yes, relatively. I think this is probably my 3rd time joining.
Oh, okay, good. I guess I was diagnosed about a year ago, so I guess I've attended about 6 or 7 meetings so far. But I have other issues like we all do. I have prostate cancer, and that's my primary treatment is focusing on that. And then in thinking that maybe that my cancer had spread, that I had some biopsies, and that's when they said, oh no, your lungs, you don't have cancer, you have sarcoidosis. So here I am.
Well, how long have you been dealing with the prostate cancer?
Since 2017. So I had aggressive treatments. I had radiation, chemo, and I'm still on hormonal treatment. So, but this is a good group. I've learned a lot listening to people. So I'm glad that and Kev, he's a great resource. So just enjoy the dialogue. And I appreciate it.
I really truly enjoyed it. I really have. It's been great.
Yeah,
Thank
it's helpful.
Linda, did you get a chance to see the mid-July, or was it June? Actually, it was June, mid-June. We had my pulmonologist presented to the group. We had about 50 people on.
Yeah.
It was about sarcoidosis, to treat or not to treat, and then it was an hour of Ask Me Anything that was really good.
Yes,
I
it
just put a
was.
link to it up on the chat. If you didn't get a chance to see that, that's worth 30 minutes or an hour of your time. It has an awful lot of information. He was very straightforward and open with everything, and we had questions coming in from all around the country. It was really good.
Let's check it out.
Yep.
All right. It is a small group tonight. Is there anything that you wanted to bring up while we're here?
I kind of lost my video, so that's why I'm flipping around. I went to the chat and I kind of lost. I wound up. Let me.
Now you're looking at the chat window instead of your video window. You're still coming through on video, though.
Okay, good. Well, I mean, I just don't have it on this side. Maybe it'll settle down and. Well, at any rate, as long as I can see it, I don't have any additional comments or issues to bring up tonight.
How long have you been battling sarcoidosis?
I'm sorry?
I was asking Jim, how long has he been battling sarcoidosis?
With the sarcoidosis, I mean, it's just a year this month.
Oh, okay.
But then with the prostate cancer, it's been since March of 2017.
Okay.
And you can still see me because I
Yes.
can't see
Yes.
it. Yeah, that's
Got
good.
it fine.
Okay.
So sometimes if
Well,
you
I'm
open
glad-
the chat, it comes up on top of your video window. So if you close the chat, maybe it'll come back.
Oh, now I'm back. Okay. Very
You
good.
never left. We can see you the whole
I
time.
never left you, but now I can see myself. So, wow.
Yeah.
I'm not Mr. High Tech. I'm low tech and no tech. So I do have a little struggle with some of this stuff. But
Yeah.
now you're back. Good. Can see you both. Good.
Linda, were you able to get a vaccine?
I haven't.
You haven't?
Not yet. No, I haven't yet.
We were talking earlier about how
Yeah.
a lot of medications you take for sarcoidosis can interfere with the vaccine. So I got mine last year and I had no reaction to either shot. And that's probably because the medication I'm on is interfering with my immune system. So it couldn't really mount the reaction. So
That's actually kind of, my concern. I mean, like, it's not that I don't trust the vaccination. It's just with all the illnesses that I have and the medications and stuff, I'm just kind of on the fence about it. But it's not that I have doubts about the vaccination.
yeah, it's a personal choice. I mean, you're trying to weigh the risk of a reaction to the vaccine versus the risk if you, God forbid, get exposed to COVID and pick it up.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it's not like, so the way it was explained to me is even if it wasn't 100% effective, I'm probably not going to get taken out by it if I do catch COVID-19. It'll probably be a much milder case and much less likely to get long COVID, which is like the permanent brain fog and fatigue and all the things that I had when my sarcoidosis was flaring. There are people that are coming out of COVID with exactly that, and it doesn't appear to go away. So you know,
Yes.
they don't know what they're doing a lot of research on it, and they're coming up with some ideas right now about, you know, changes that happen in your immune system when you're infected that cause you to become kind of like an autoimmune thing, where your body starts reacting to a natural substance in the body, and you just constantly fighting it, and there's nothing
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, because I have thyroid, some thyroid issues, and anemia. I have actually have thalassemia, and which is under the umbrella of an immune suppressed issue, and so that's a problem.
One thing at a time.
Diabetes. Yeah, but I mean, you know, I'm still try to remain very cautious. Don't go out much. Always wear a mask.
Mask up.
You know, we clean like everything that we bring into the house. You know, if we go out anywhere, we come in, we change clothes, we shower and change clothes, and you know, still write down everything, doorknobs, and we just kind of have our own little thing here, you know, with family.
Yeah.
And we stay in our bubble.
You gotta be cautious. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
my mother passed away from COVID December of 2020. So I was directly affected from it. So, you know, I definitely take it very seriously.
Yeah, I'm sorry for your loss.
Yes.
That's hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Anything else? We normally go around the, you know, all the participants and get an update, and you know, I'm more than happy to give you a half hour of your life back and get something else done.
Good. No,
I thoroughly appreciate it.
All
No,
right,
well,
and you take care of
you
yourself.
too,
Stay
Kev.
healthy. Take care, Jay.
Take care, Kev. I'll be in touch.
All right, that sounds great. You got my email.
You take care. Okay. See you
Thank you.
later.
Take care. Good luck.
Bye.
Okay. Bye now.